Okay, so the second episode of the second season, well, it may be the second episode only, but it's already hyping up to be really good. And while I now have read the manga, well, not all of it, but I have been starting to read the manga non-stop, this episode is still really hyped for me. Without spoiling anything, there's really only one way to describe what this anime season will be like. It'll have two fantastic arcs right after each other, so do not drop it whatever you do. Season 1 is going to pale before this one. Okay, so let's talk about what happened in this episode. I'm still figuring out a proper format for reviewing this episode, so it could be a bit bumpy, but oh well, let's try it anyway. So already in this episode we saw the faces of some of the main contestants of the sports festival, but I won't really tell you who they are. I mean, you probably will figure it out by yourself anyway. So yeah, basically the class is met by the other classes of the UA Academy, which are the support class, the general class, and the business class. Basically these classes all do different things in the UA Academy, but I won't really say anything about that because it's probably a spoiler, even if it's just a small one. Now, three things in this episode stand out above the rest, and these are of course Todoroki's war declaration on Izuku, Kachan's promise that he will come out on top in this sports festival, and the start of the first round in the sports festival. So I thought I'd have a focus on these things in this video. Todoroki and Deku is absolutely crazy because one has to understand that it is also stated in the episode, I think, that Todoroki is in theory the strongest person in their class, while Deku is obviously the underdog, not the weakest by strength, but he lacks quirk control and all of that. So in a drawn out fight, he will start to become less effective because of the fact that he obviously cannot control his quirk properly yet. Todoroki, on the other hand, is the exact opposite of Deku. He's a natural, but he has no interest in using his full power. This is one of the many reasons why this arc is gonna be fantastic. While the anime onlys and the rest of their class obviously don't know why Todoroki is being so forward with Deku. Well, it will be revealed really soon, and one hint is the fact that Todoroki of course pointed out that Deku and All Might are very close to each other in some way. The second thing that appeared is then of course the Bakugo walking up to the mic, and of course after a moment of silence he breaks that silence by declaring that he's going to win this sports festival. I mean, you can't really be surprised, I guess, but it's a bit big of him seeing as he doesn't even know most of the competition. I guess he's doing it seeing as their class is the actual heroics class, while the rest are what someone like him would consider failures, especially the general department, since they're what the name would suggest. They're a step beneath the hero class. So in Kachan's eyes that probably means they're low lives or something in that direction. He doesn't even respect his own classmates the way the rest do. However, that might change, who knows, right? Okay, so let's talk about the last big thing that began in this episode, which is of course the first round of the sports festival, the obstacle course, where anything's allowed as long as you don't stray from the course. Right away as this round starts, everyone gets cramped up in the narrow tunnel, and this in itself is of course the first obstacle, even if all don't realize it. And Todoroki uses this situation to his advantage as soon as he gets through by freezing up the entire thing. Everyone who aren't quick enough are stuck where they stand, and we can see the majority of the people who were actually able to avoid that fate are from his own class, because they kinda know what his game is. We see Kachan soar across the course with his explosive quirk, which he uses to make himself go forward really quickly, as he usually do. Much like he did in season 1 during that test, that first lesson with Aizawa, I believe it was. The exception of course being that back then he was on the ground, just increasing the speed that he runs at, while now he's actually making himself fly, even if it's just temporarily. A few others also make it through. One of these is Mineta, also known as the god of perverts, who makes an incredible display as he uses his sticky balls to bounce off of them. Very creative uses of their quirks, to say the least. Then there's Izuku and Uraraka, who, well, they're not stuck on the ice like some of the others were, but they have difficulty getting forward as neither of them wants to use their quirks at this time. I mean, Deku is quite understandable. His quirk has a very huge chance of breaking his bones and all of that. I imagine Uraraka said that she's not willing to use her new special moves so early on, so she's deliberately keeping herself at a slow pace right now. That, and I guess her quirk isn't really that good in this particular situation. I mean, what's gravity gonna do against ice on the ground, am I right? All she'd be able to do right now would be lowering her weight, which isn't exactly gonna help against a slippery surface. Then of course it's the final bit of this episode, which is when the big robots appear, the same ones from the entrance exam, the exam where Izuku one-shot that massive robot. It's apparently a bunch of those robots. Mineta is getting a royal treatment by them right to the face, and Todoroki once again freezes the one before him as he tells himself that they'll need something more difficult to halt him. And then everyone is standing still as they try to figure out how to get past these robot foes, and that's how the episode ends more or less. The next episode is going to be a blast, I reckon. I mean, this whole arc is going to be great, so to see it animated is like a major hype. It was a hype last week when I wasn't reading the manga, but now it's even more of a hype. If you don't read the manga, well, I suggest you either do it right now or after the season is over, if you don't want to spoil these episodes, of course. Well, I think I'm going to wrap up the video here, not much else to say, so let me know what you think about the episode down below. And as always, if you did, please like this video if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new to my channel. This has been your favorite host, Perm, and I'll see you soon.